So today we are going to go through how we took employee engagement to new heights using Yammer. So everyone here probably has Yammer or is thinking about bringing Yammer into their organization. And there's a lot of organizations that do it pretty okay. Yeah, we're rated at a 5 or a 6, and I think a couple of the organizations that we have here and the folks on stage who will introduce themselves here shortly have done a really, really fantastic job at making their Yammer network very strong, very solid, and very engaging with a lot of purpose. So we're really excited to have everyone here. We've got 2 stories today. We have the story of UNICEF and the story of Syngenta, and they're going to be sharing everything with you and quick overviews of who we have in the room. I'll start with Paula Storky.
Thank you so much, Carrie. So my name is Paula Storky. I work at UNICEF. I'm leading a program to manage communities, online communities. For us, online communities are absolutely critical because they empower everyone in the organization to do more of what we care about, which is saving children's lives, helping them to thrive and fulfill their potential since childhood to adolescence. And we never give up. Thank you. I've been in this incredible journey with Carrie for the past 2 years. We can't wait to tell you the story.
And Paula, quick question. What's something interesting about you that maybe the folks in the room wouldn't know about?
Yes, I love Japanese calligraphy, to practice it, because I like to express creativity and imagination through a very, very beautiful form of art. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, and I'm Rashik Ellis. I work for Syngenta. Our mission is to bring plant potential to life. We're a global agriculture company that is really dedicated to feeding a growing population. I am an internal communications manager supporting our production and supply groups in North America, and part of my role is employee engagement and utilizing social media as part of that, as well as diversity and inclusion efforts for our organization.
So you shared a picture of the White House. Are you running for office?
Yes, so no, I am not here to announce my candidacy for President of the United States. However, an interesting fact about me, I have always wanted to become President of the United States. When back in those early childhood days, they'd ask you, what do you want to become when you grow up? And consistently, I was always saying I wanted to become the first Black President of the United States. Well, of course, that has to be revised now, so yeah.
Great. Well, I think internal communications and managing Yammer is a close second to being the president. Well, good. Thank you both for coming. For those of you who don't know me in the room, I think I actually know most of you. My name is Carrie Basham Young, and I run a little consulting firm called Talk Social to Me, and we help organizations launch or revive their Yammer networks and collaboration programs. So we've been doing this for about 10 years, so I've kind of seen it all the good and all the bad. So the stories that we share today are representative, hopefully, of turning some of the bad around into the good. An interesting fact about me is I have something called synesthesia. Does anyone know what that is? You know what that is. Good. Well, for everybody else who doesn't know what that is, it basically means the wires in my brains are crossed. My brains, I have 2. My brain is crossed, which means that sort of my sensory and processing ways of seeing the world are connected. So when I think of different letters and numbers, to me, those are inherently colored. So a fun party trick is people will come up to me and say, hi, my name is Joe. And I said, oh, orange, green, yellow. That's how your name looks to me. Some people who have synesthesia can taste color or can smell shapes. Mine's not that cool, but that's the interesting fact about me. So if you want me to tell you what your name looks like or your birthday looks like, come up to me afterwards, you too, Kai, and I'll tell you the rainbowness of your first name. Today we're going to talk about a lot of different things here. We will have questions and answers at the end, so please feel free if you have any questions for our panelists to say them to the end and we'll jump in. So Paula, I want to go to you first. I want to understand, before we get to any challenges of Yammer at UNICEF, can you tell me about how Yammer came to be, what that was like, and how long that's been, and sort of where you guys are at now?
Great. So this takes us back to 2008, where UNICEF bravely and excitingly embraced Yammer for the first time. Possibly we are the first organization in the UN doing this. And it was a clear innovation. It was an inspiration. It was exciting. But we didn't know exactly what to do with Yammer at that time. That's also the time when Yammer, as a startup, didn't know what to do with itself. It didn't know what eventually would have become. So that's a context. In 2008, we did have a very strong vision for building communities in UNICEF, of what I said before, because really they empower everyone to do more of what we care about. But we didn't have, the right platform for connecting people, engaging people, around what we do.
And when you're looking to launch Yammer in 2008, way back when, I mean, these are the early days of Yammer. These are pre-legitimacy days of Yammer. What did the workforce look like? What were you hoping to do? Where did they sit across the globe, and how were they going to access Yammer?
Right. So our workforce is 14,000 people. We are present in over 190 countries and territories. So we have the perfect use case for really connecting different parts of the organization across geography. We also work on very similar issues. We focus on critical challenges for children, such as access to water and sanitation, child protection, improving health and nutrition, education. We also work in some of the most complicated, conflictual contexts in the world, and we deal with emergencies almost every day. And for us, working in country offices especially, doesn't mean that we are sitting at a desk in front of a computer. No, we go to the field, we inspect the project, we deliver supply. Often we are in the jungles, we are in places where we don't have access to the internet. We have very special use case for really connecting each other in a way that transcends a computer.
That's right. And the last question before I jump over to Rashik is, so you've had Yammer for 10 years. There are probably some unique challenges given your workforce and the 10-year tenure of Yammer. What are a couple of the challenges that you had to overcome in order to get Yammer to where it is today?
Right. So the first one was a cultural challenge. When we embraced Yammer, UN and UNICEF, we are hierarchical. We are modeled in a way that, a tool like Yammer will pose a challenge because it brings up the bottom up. So it was exciting, but at the same time, that's the first challenge. The second challenge is, to me, the most important one, is that we never instituted a strategic community management program for the organization globally, though we launched Yammer globally. So that was a missing component that we really needed to institute. And the third challenge, possibly, I already mentioned that, is the fact that we work in so many countries in the world where the low bandwidth really challenges our access to the internet. So the diffusion of Yammer was not that strong because people didn't have access to the tool.
And I want to throw it over to you, Rashik. I want to ask the same question. Can you give us a history of how Yammer came to be, how long you've had it, and maybe some of the challenges that have been presented in your time using Yammer?
Yes, so dating back to probably about 3 years ago, we rolled out Yammer actually for the second time. Our organization, maybe I guess a year before that, rolled it out, received a lot of resistance from the employee population, but took a step back and then relaunched it 3 years ago. And one of the challenges that we saw on the onset was the fact that the onboarding process, so the login process, was quite onerous, and you lose people when they can't kind of get into the tool quickly. And so we saw that change as Office 360 came on board, 365, sorry, came on board, and we actually used that as a way to start onboarding people early to the cloud environment and all of the great tools. We said, hey, if you get on Yammer, you're going to be ahead of the curve when we make this a mandate for the entire organization.
That's great. So Yammer was really sort of a first step in driving a bigger technology change for the organization.
Exactly, exactly.
What did that relaunch, what happened with that relaunch? Because I've heard of a lot of organizations where we had Yammer, then we didn't have it, and then it came back. What did that look like, and who made that decision to bring it back to life?
Yeah, so it really was driven by our internal communications function. So it was not an IT-driven effort. So a lot of it was communication messages. So telling the story of why Yammer would be useful to the work that you do in the workplace and how it can connect you across geography and help you understand what the organization is all about and what it's doing. And another effort in that part was actually getting leadership on board. So, you know, I actually support our production and supply organization in North America. And quite honestly, I just hijacked one of their team meetings. You know, they were off-site actually in Florida somewhere, and I said, we're just going to infuse Yammer into your team meeting for the next 3 days. And so with that, you know, they were seeing the tool hands-on. They had no way to run away from it. And by the end of that 3-day leadership conference, they were coming up to me saying, how could I use this? How can I use the polling feature? How can I use, you know, whatever feature of it? And that's how we really got the buy-in, is getting the leadership active and engaged and really kind of brought into it.
That's fantastic. I think that one of the most powerful things is people have to touch it and understand what it feels like. Then they cross that hurdle, because if they're not in the tool, they don't quite understand the power of it and what it means for them. So I love that you hijacked the meeting. Congratulations. Just a quick question for each of you. Rashik, we'll start with you. What was the moment when you realized the power of Yammer? What was this one moment that you could think of for yourself, for other people at your organization, when it clicked for somebody else on the team?
Yeah, so I'll start with personal. So for me, you know, one of my passions is diversity and inclusion, and so the moment of power that I saw for the tool was the fact that it gives people the ability to be a part of the conversation, to feel like they belong, to be in part of the inclusive environment that we're trying to create. And so for me, that looks like, you know, I'm a member of an employee resource group, the LGBTQ employee resource group, and we have a private group. And so I can go in there and in dialogue with, you know, other individuals who are either allies or members of the LGBTQ community within a closed environment, and seeing that across the globe, that I'm not, you know, the only one in the company who identifies. So that's one personal kind of power connection. The other is really seeing the leadership really embrace it up to the level of our CEO. He's now active on the tool, and I believe he understands the ability to touch base with employees. You know, he's getting on, asking questions, employees are engaging with him, and that really creates a truer sense of engagement. So there's power in that as well.
That's fantastic. And Paula, what about you? What would you say was the moment when you realized how powerful Yammer could be at UNICEF?
Yes, and I think I go with the personal power connection. It was back in the days, 2008, a revolutionary moment. Our former director, executive director, was actually browsing Yammer, was looking at articles. I love the topic of collaboration, just posted an article. I got an instant message from her thanking me, saying that the article is actually excellent. Thank you for posting it. And then in a couple of minutes, the room in my office is filled with people asking me, what did you do? How did you trigger this reaction? And then I saw the power of having a leader appreciating you, recognizing, you know, what you share. And on that, I also want to build on the second example, which is what we are watching now on the network. This topic of leadership for us is critical, because we need a critical mass of leaders in the organization to really spread Yammer. But we see the conversation around motivation, engagement, leadership. They have more than 600 views, comments, 50 comments, 60 comments, people participating from all over the organization, involving, you know, everybody in a conversation that is about shaping our new leadership. So we are very kind of proud of that. Personally, I'm very excited by seeing threads about critical topics becoming so popular.
Especially generated from just everyday staff at UNICEF,
Exactly.
Not top down.
Exactly. Coming from all parts of the world and triggering like a thought that the motivation that people have and the passion that people have for the work that we do is so high. And so we want to harness the power of a tool like Yammer and the communities we bring through Yammer to amplify the power even more.
So you've got Yammer then, it seems to be going well. People are using it to share and to collaborate. that it can't be the only platform and tool that people are using at UNICEF, especially when you talked earlier about low bandwidth and people being literally in remote parts of this planet. Right. So where does Yammer fit into how people communicate and collaborate overall at UNICEF?
Right. Yammer is now part of our Office 365 ecosystem. So it complements, with its powerful, ability to host conversations and create engagement. Complement SharePoint, which is our library. What we call library is the place that we curate to use, all the critical information that we need to do our work. It also complements what we call Billboard. It's part of our model, but again, it's part of the SharePoint environment. It's more like a publishing side or the communication side, where we can market the story of our success, the story of our challenges, and they can be also broadcasted through Yammer too. It also fits in an environment where, as you were saying, we work in so many different parts of the world, the bandwidth is low, and especially when emergencies arise, people in the organization, they go to use WhatsApp, they use Messenger because it allows that quick, immediate, instant communication. But what we do, since we are aware of that, we try to bring back all those conversations and these videos and these images that sometimes are life-saving images into the Yammer broader, conversations that everybody has access to it and they don't get lost. So that's
where it fits in. And Rashik, what about you? What else is going on besides Yammer? What are the other tools, platforms that are being used, maybe formally, informally?
So we are beginning our stages of the Office 365 platform. So, we're beginning to use things such as Teams. We really use Yammer as a complement to some of the things that are coming on board. One of the interesting ways that we're using it is I'm working with a team to help engage with one of our customers or some of our customers. So they came to me as a communications professional, said, "Oh, we want to create, a Twitter or a Facebook account to connect directly with our customers." And I said, "You do understand that you're going to have to go through multiple hurdles with legal compliance and all of that." Right. And I said, "Hey, we have this great thing called Yammer. How about you create a closed network to invite," because we can invite external partners there. And the hurdles were still there, but less of them. And they created this network, and now they're getting ready to onboard several, I think 100 farmers that they can directly connect to in a closed environment, not only closed to Syngenta, but closed to their group so that others aren't, pestering those customers.
And I love how when you both talked about your stories, we're not just talking about people sitting at computers all day. Right now, we're able to take Yammer into the field, into places where, those mobile phones are going to be so important to get that real-time connection from people who are actually talking to our customers or doing the work that our organizations do. So that's fascinating to hear. I want to talk a little bit with each of you about the growth of Yammer and what that trajectory was, because if you're like most organizations, it wasn't like you launched Yammer and then all of a sudden you had 25,000 people magically collaborating overnight. So Paola, I'll start with you quickly. Can you talk about the growth of Yammer and what happened, where it started, and where you're at today?
Right. Thank you for that. So we started back in 2008. People, when we first embraced it, people started to join Yammer organically without, a clear communication plan or community plan. But we saw the appetite for that. So people started joining, creating groups, and leaving groups, creating new groups, etc. Then we have, number of years of this. This way of embracing Yammer. And we get to 2016, so 8 years after, when a network that had like about 9,000 people at that time, unfortunately, had very low engagement rate. And the reason why it didn't have it is because community management was really needed. So that's the moment where Carrie and I started to work together and intentionally instituted a proper plan to manage the overall global Yammer community, starting with auditing it, looking at each group. At that time, we had 450 groups, and we realized that some of them were very active. So there were people extremely active on Yammer, but there were people that were not active. And there were groups that were extremely resilient, that they carried out during 8 years of life, very important work, but they needed a boost. So we had started a process of really looking into cleaning the network. The network needed, was in the first slide, needed a cleanup. So we archived over 120, 30 groups, and we also merged another 100 of them. And the merging was very interesting because people really figured out that at some point, if you have a group that has the same topic and you see it in different countries, in different regions, and you see it managed by different people, well, maybe it's time to come together and build that community stronger around that topic, because that topic is crucial for everybody. Mm-hmm. So we did that, and as soon as we started to see the effect of the cleaning up, for us, it was the beginning of the growth of the engagement. So people felt that Yammer was finally taken care of. They felt that in the effort of managing a community was not only the effort of one person, but was actually helped. And they needed a strategy, they needed a plan, and a communication plan for all the members, that actually the transition from a group to a merged group. That was very important, to make sure that everyone who was part of it had a chance to understand why, what's the purpose of this merging. So in about 9 months after we started the cleanup, but also we did more than that, we instituted another practice, which was really having one-on-one personal conversation with group managers, the ones that really showed the need for boosting the engagement and the need for making an impact with the group. We also have webinars, and we organized a couple of very powerful face-to-face workshops when we brought all of them together. And finally, they met each other, and they realized, okay, that's not I'm not the only person who had the same challenge, and it was so powerful. And realized through these workshops that people have actually mastered very good community management practices in the process. So they became our best allies for moving the revitalization of Yammer forward. So we could say that in about 9 months after all of this, we tripled the engagement from 1,000 members to over 3,500. And we kept growing steadily because the group of people that actually started to be with us in the program started to advocate for the program. And so that helped us. 18 months after, we started to reach 5,600 people engaged on Yammer, which is more than a five-fold increase of the engagement since 2016, which we believe is really a breakthrough.
It's a fantastic growth. And Rashik, what about you? What do your Yammer numbers look like? What are the adoption rates? How do you measure success? What does that look like to you, and what trajectories have you seen?
Yeah, so it really wasn't until we started looking at the data. And before, we didn't have data, but we worked and partnered with Swoop Analytics. And this tool gives not only those who truly care about the analytics, but actually all of our employees the opportunity to take a look at the data. And so through that, we were able to not only see the data, but then tell the story based on the data. And so I'll speak from North America. We use it globally, but in North America, our numbers when we first started onboarding were, hovering a little below 9% or so. as I speak today, in North America, we're above 25% active engagement. And a lot of that is attributed to the tools that we have thanks to Swoop Analytics, such as being able to download and curate for, say, a particular leader and say, here's where you stand on, the engagement level. Here's where leader X stands. And we create these friendly competitions, and they then go out there and try to increase their engagement. In addition to that, another thing that we did is created a Yambassador group, so ambassadors for the platform itself. So we kind of tracked once we got Swoop Analytics, where you can see the influencers. So we went out to those influencers and said, hey, we want you to be a part of these communication efforts and using them to really also tell the story. And the other good thing about the analytics tool is, when you hear employees or leaders say, it's such a waste of time, if you're on there liking things, I could give you 10 other things to do. But when you have the data to show them that, no, people are not just on here just for giggles, it's actually they're doing work, and it's important work, and also seeing the lines of, we throw out the term collaboration. But if you can actually see those collaboration points through an analytics tool, whether it's Swoop or any other ones out there, that's powerful.
What do you think your most important metric is? What, if you had to choose one piece of data that you think shows the engagement in your community, what would that be?
For me, I guess it would be the influencers, because that number changes. So I'm monitoring this, every month, and I send a report to my manager, and I see it fluctuate. And so for me, that's important and a useful tool. In particular, the report I send to my manager, who's head of internal communications in North America, is consistently in the top 3. And that's fine with her, and it's fine with me, even though I'm the manager of Yammer, but it just shows that it takes everyone to build the network. So when I see that, unlikely foes would be on the top 10 of the influencer list is quite impactful.
But an influencer is not a person who posts the most, right? Those
No.
aren't the people that we care about.
No. Okay. This is someone who is, they're engaging through all sorts of ways. They're either responding or they're liking things, they're posing questions, they're inviting others to join the network.
Great. So we're going to dive in very quickly to a couple of use cases that each one of you has thought about before today. Paola, I want to start with you. I know you've got 3. We've got a couple of screenshots for those as well. So if you'll just quickly walk through maybe some of your favorite use cases and what you're doing on Yammer to empower these people at UNICEF.
Sure. We did case studies of Yammer use. So our top, performing groups are based on very in-depth exploration of what was going on in the groups, involving managers, involving members, involving anyone who participated in the community. So the top one for us is the supply community. Supply in UNICEF is a critical function. It serves all the countries we work, and also it serves all the partners that we have, including governments. Supply is crucial for emergencies. Supply of vaccines, medicines, cars, water, etc. is crucial for emergencies, is crucial for programs, health, education, nutrition, etc. So every year we procure and supply about 5,000 different products. And just in 2017, we procure for more than 3,047 million. So it's something really, crucial for the life, of the organization, the operation of the organization. So having a community of supply and logistic specialists is absolutely critical. They've been forming the community since 2008, when we started the online communities in UNICEF. They've been coming together to learn, to exchange, to train, to actually complement any training activities that this field that needed to be professionalized, organized. And they are impressive in terms of really investing in continuous learning. They love the learning it all and not the knowing it all. They really have a strong sense of leadership in the community. So a couple of the leaders of the old division are role modeling a very good, charismatic way of posting and engaging and tagging and praising people when they do something that is really meaningful. So for us, it's a top case, and we hope that that role modeling that they have is going to influence the rest of the other communities. The second one is a community focused on water and sanitation, specifically on water and sanitation in the schools, the access of these two critical components of the daily life of a kid in school worldwide. We know that in the world, 600 million kids don't have access to water. About 900 million of kids don't have access to hygiene practices, such as and product like simple product as water and soap. As a result, 800 kids every day die of preventable diseases, right, caused by this challenging situation. We also know that 23% of schools worldwide, they don't provide access to sanitation. So that creates a very big challenge for our organization, but also for all the partners working with us to tackle the issue. So the leadership of the water and sanitation team globally is leading a partnership with 80 organizations in 80 countries to ensure that this work is well, amplified, and they needed a digital component. They needed a Yammer group. It couldn't be an internal Yammer group. It needed to be external, but it's one of the most successful examples of using an external Yammer group, led very well and consistently from a core group of people who actually manage it and take care of the content, but we see the partners are part of it. So it's where we are role modeling that kind of digital collaborative leadership, which is so critical for amplifying the impact of our work. And the last case, which is great too, a completely different field, communication. We have over 800 people in the field working on amplifying the impact of social media, using best in practice techniques to campaigning outside for children. But they recognize that there is an internal need for learning how to do it at its best, and having a community on Yammer, thriving community on Yammer, where everybody's sharing their best practice, but also they're sharing the cutting edge ways of involving people in campaigns using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. As what, you don't get it usually. So people have realized that there's a unique value in having access to this community. It's the only source of knowledge if they want to do their work better.
Thank you. Great. And Rashik, I want to ask you about some of your best use cases that you've got going on over there. What are some of the uses for Yammer that are really impacting how you do business and how things are working at your organization?
Yeah, so I mentioned the one earlier with the grower group that part of our population wants to connect to be determined on what that looks like as they're actually getting ready to onboard those individuals. But I do think that it is going to be very promising. One of the things that they want to do with this direct connection to the grower is, we deal with products and things that are in the field, so the hope is that they'll be able to connect with them in an instant way. So if you're having issues with a crop, you can post a picture and show that, and maybe an agronomist can answer that question. So that's one of the outcomes that I believe that they hope to get out of this. Another case is during Pride Month globally, we utilize hashtags quite often, and during Pride Month we had one, Syngenta Proud. So kind of going back to that personal story shared, just seeing those hashtags being used globally and sharing stories globally is quite impactful in how we utilize Yammer as well.
Good. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you describe what Yammer is to your organization. I asked you before the session to think about some words that you would use to describe it. So, Rashik, what about you? What did you say about your network, and explain to the room why you came up with those words?
Yeah, so the 3 words I used were engaging, fresh, and inclusive. So engaging because it is creating that level of employee engagement, and it's not that just surface level. People are really engaging with each other, creating relationships that go beyond the network of Yammer. Fresh because it is new and exciting, and fresh because every day you can go on there, and I know personally I'm learning something fresh there. And then inclusive because I truly see it as a driver of our diversity and inclusion efforts globally in terms of, allowing individuals to have a voice, a seat at the table, if you will. So, yeah, those are why I chose those 3 words.
It's interesting. I don't know if anyone in this room ever would have predicted that we would have used words like fresh and engaging and inclusive for software, right? I mean, that's really, really interesting to see how far we've come. And Paula, what about you? How would you describe Yammer at UNICEF?
I think it's exciting. It's becoming more exciting every day because we see more people engaged in a way that it's fun, right? We see posts that are short, crisp, and with a lot of questions too, which makes us happy because questions trigger responses, and responses are fueling learning and engagement. We love the fact that it's inclusive too, because we have a workforce that is so geographically dispersed, and it's important that they feel that there is a place where they can all come together. And we want the sense of inclusiveness to be also part of the work that we do with partners, because it's the external community is as equally as important as the internal for us. And it's evolving because after 10 years of implementation, we've seen it all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, we've got just a few more minutes, and I do want to leave time for Q&A, so I'm going to go through a couple of quick slides here and just jump to some very specific ones. Can you describe what your community management program is like at Syngenta? You shared some really interesting quotes on how people are talking about Yammer. Can you share more with us about what the importance of these are to you?
Yeah. To actually be quite honest, we don't have a community management program. It's truly being led by our internal communications function. But what we are doing is having those one-on-ones with leaders or managers who might be interested in utilizing the tool. So a lot of it is happening organically. And now, thanks to Office 365, we do have our IT on board. So we're onboarding them to make sure that they're sharing their tips and tricks on Yammer. But we really don't have a community management network at this point. And it's been serving us well. I mean, we've seen an increase in engagement without it. So
great. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about, we've gone through data and analytics. How do you talk about Yammer? What do you say? What do you describe Yammer like to your employees?
Yeah, when I first started onboarding individuals with Yammer, I would always say, you're on Facebook, or ask them what kind of social channels they may be on externally, and say, it's very similar to that. I get the question a lot of, well, I'm not sure what to post. And I really say, just join the conversation, be a part of a conversation, be your authentic self. Like, there's no need to come up with these prescribed, grandiose posts. Just be your true self. And again, that goes back to our diversity and inclusion efforts is, you got to bring your full self to work in order to really get the true productivity. So for me, it's really about encouraging people just to be their true, authentic selves, whatever that looks like, and have no fear.
I love it. Have no fear. Paula, just the last question for you is, can you describe how you talk about Yammer to staff at UNICEF? Because it's a little bit different and nuanced.
Right. So when we started the revitalization process, we listened to so many people. We asked, their feedback about, engagement, collaboration, using Yammer. What's your motivation? What's your purpose? So people responded they were really confused, and they needed a simple model to understand how to organize their work about communities. So with that call, to return to simplicity, we crafted a very simple approach, which is called BUILD. BUILD stands for Billboard, you and I, which is actually the relationship that glues the community. The L of the library, which is SharePoint, and the D, which is the dialogue of Yammer. They all blend very well together, but the key message there is that the you and I, the focus on relationship, people first, technology second, was something that people really needed to hear from us, to make sure that they could relate to the whole community building effort. We branded the whole community management program around Build, and found that the best use cases that we have, they all model their reinvigoration. They're igniting their network and community around that. They all have a billboard. They all have, a strong human focus, and they have a strong Yammer curated and a strong SharePoint, always curated, and the experience is seamless.
Great, and one of the things I've seen you do is there's less of a focus on just Yammer as a tool, but rather it's a place, it's where you go to connect with those people, and we've actually seen you sort of migrate away from using the word Yammer given your global audience, and I thought it might be interesting to share some of the translations globally.
So we know that the word Yammer is not an easy word. If you translate it in Italian, for example, cianciare, I'm from Italy, it's just talking a little, low talk. So you wouldn't want that name to really be the vessel, the conduit for an important, meaningful conversation at work. So mindful of that, we have de-emphasized the use of the word, although everybody knows that it's Yammer that we're using, but we just talk more about build, which is the metaphor for building, for organizing, for doing something bigger together.
Perfect. We've only got a couple of minutes. I do want to open it up to anybody in the room that has questions for our guest speakers today. Anything you'd like to ask of Paola or Rashik? Kai. Oh, Noah.
I'd love to ask people what has surprised you recently in your network. Can you answer that?
Right. Yes. I mean, just a fresh answer, right? I was 2 minutes ago. Now it's an hour ago. I was outside checking my inbox, checking my email. I see like 50, messages of different people posting on Yammer. This is what's surprising me every day. We're seeing, so much growth and so much engagement and so much excitement. So it's a good surprise.
Rashik, is there anything that surprised you?
Yeah, I guess from this communication standpoint, one of the things when you're using social tools, you hear from legal and others, HR, the fear of someone going rogue or, being obnoxious, basically. And I mean, it's not a surprise to me, but I guess surprise to those who are naysayers is that none of that has happened in our network.
I can confirm that from our side too. Yeah, we never had a bad story. Actually, only positive stories so far.
That's great. Any other questions for our guests? Kai?
Paolo, you talked about low bandwidth, and given that you're global reach, how are you dealing with countries where you got close to zero bandwidth?
Yes, so that's a big question. I think our IT department is very keen to support each and every employee to make the best use of the current, contemporary technology to connect and do the work. So I think we've seen that we use mobile almost universally in UNICEF, like smartphones, and I think everyone is equipped to do some of the work, sometimes really using mobile technology. And I think it's improving, the experience, it's improving a lot from what it was like a couple of years ago. We've been surveying the Yammer network, the communities, and we heard from people that, the situation is improving, essentially. But it's a constant challenge, and we're never done with that.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Please feel free to come and ask us any questions afterwards, and we'll see you throughout the rest of the conference. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.